Hey guys, what's up? It's your favorite crew, The Hidden Truth. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're diving deep, and I mean deep into the world of conspiracy theories, but not just any theories. No. We're talking about the ones that went from, oh honey, that's crazy talk, to, wait, they actually did what? Like, seriously, buckle up you guys, because some of this stuff is straight out of a horror movie. We're talking government secrets, mind control, cover-ups, the whole shebang. It's enough to make you want to wear a tinfoil hat for real. But here's the thing, right? Sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. And the more you dig into these so-called theories, the more you start to realize that maybe, just maybe, we don't know everything. Maybe the world is a much, much weirder place than they want us to believe. So if you're ready to question everything you thought you knew, grab your snacks, turn down the lights, and let's get right into it. Right.
All right, you guys, let's kick things off with a real doozy, okay? I'm talking about MK Ultra. This isn't just some conspiracy theory. It's a documented part of history that sounds like it was ripped straight from a sci-fi thriller. Now, if you haven't heard of this one, like, where have you been? Just kidding, kind of. But seriously, MK Ultra is one of those things that makes you question everything you thought you knew about government operations. Basically, MK Ultra was this top-secret CIA program back in the day, and I'm talking like Cold War era. The Cold War was a time of intense paranoia and competition between the United States and the Soviet Union. Both sides were desperate to gain any advantage they could. And for the CIA, that meant exploring the limits of human psychology and control. They were obsessed with this idea of mind control, like straight out of a spy movie. Imagine the power to control someone's thoughts, actions, and even their memories. It sounds like something out of a dystopian novel, but for the CIA, it was a very real goal. I mean, who needs fancy gadgets when you can just control people's minds, right? The idea was that if they could perfect these techniques, they could use them on enemy spies, political leaders, or even entire populations. So, the CIA, they started doing all these crazy experiments, and I'm not exaggerating. They were willing to push the boundaries of ethics and legality to see what was possible. We're talking giving people LSD, hypnosis, electroshock therapy, you name it. They were trying to see how far they could go in altering a person's mind and behavior. LSD, in particular, was a favorite tool because of its powerful hallucinogenic effects. They even tried to use this stuff on unsuspecting citizens, which is just like beyond messed up. Imagine going about your day, having a coffee at a diner, and suddenly you're part of a secret government experiment without your knowledge or consent. For years, people were like, nah, the CIA would never do that. That's insane. It was hard for the public to believe that their own government could be involved in such nefarious activities. But guess what? Documents started leaking out, and it turns out it was all true. Investigative journalists and whistleblowers began to uncover the truth. And it was more shocking than anyone could have imagined. The CIA really was messing with people's minds, and it's like, what else are they hiding from us, you know? It makes you wonder about the extent of government secrecy and the lengths to which agencies will go to achieve their objectives. The revelations about MK Ultra have led to a lot of distrust and skepticism towards government institutions, and for good reason. If they were capable of this, what other secrets might they be keeping? It's a chilling thought, but one that reminds us to stay vigilant and question the narratives we're fed. Okay, so we've talked about mind control, but buckle up, Buttercup, because this next one is even wilder. I'm talking about Operation Paperclip. And let me tell you, this one's got it all. Nazis, rockets, secret government programs, the whole 9 yards. Picture this. World War II just ended. The Allies have defeated the Nazis, and everyone's trying to pick up the pieces. But behind the scenes, something shady is going down. The U.S. government, they're making deals with the enemy. See, the Nazis, they were way ahead of the game when it came to rocket technology, and the U.S., they wanted in on that action. So they hatched this plan, Operation Paperclip, to secretly bring Nazi scientists and engineers to America. I know, right? It sounds absolutely insane, but it's true. They smuggled these guys into the country, gave them new identities, and put them to work developing rockets and missiles for the U.S. military. Okay, you guys, so we've talked about the CIA messing with people's minds, the government snatching up Nazi scientists like they were Pokemon cards. But this next one, this one hits different. This is about the government, specifically the U.S. Public Health Service, doing something so messed up, so morally bankrupt, that it still gives me chills. We're talking about the Tuskegee syphilis study. Buckle up, you guys, because this one is a roller coaster. It all went down in Macon County, Alabama back in 1932. Imagine, the Great Depression is in full swing, people are struggling, and the Public Health Service sets up shop saying they're there to help. They're promising free health care to black men in the area, saying they're going to treat them for bad blood. Sounds almost too good to be true, right? Well, that's because it was. See, bad blood was a catch-all term back then, used for everything from anemia to syphilis. But these doctors, these supposed healers, they knew exactly what they were doing. They were studying syphilis, a devastating disease, and they weren't actually treating anyone. They were conducting an experiment, and the subjects, those 600 black men, many of whom were poor sharecroppers, they were nothing more than guinea pigs. Can you even imagine? These people were desperate for help, and these so-called medical professionals exploited their vulnerability in the worst way possible. It's like something out of a horror movie, but this was real life, and it went on for 40 years. You heard me right, 40 years. Let that sink in for a minute. Now let's dive deeper into the details. The Tuskegee syphilis study began with the promise of free medical care, meals, and burial insurance. The men were told they were being treated for bad blood, a term that was commonly used in the region to describe a variety of ailments. But in reality, the Public Health Service had no intention of treating them. Instead, they wanted to observe the natural progression of untreated syphilis in black men. This was done without the informed consent of the participants, a gross violation of ethical standards. The men were subjected to painful and invasive procedures such as spinal taps under the guise of receiving treatment. They were misled and lied to, and their trust was betrayed in the most egregious way. The study continued even after penicillin became the standard treatment for syphilis in the 1940s. The researchers deliberately withheld this life-saving treatment from the participants, allowing them to suffer and die from a disease that could have been easily cured. The impact of the Tuskegee syphilis study was devastating. Many of the men died from syphilis or related complications, and their families suffered immensely. The study also had a lasting impact on the black community's trust in the medical establishment, a mistrust that persists to this day. The revelation of the study in 1972 led to public outrage and a series of reforms in medical research ethics, but the damage had already been done. In the aftermath of the scandal, the U.S. government established new regulations to protect human subjects in research. The National Research Act of 1974 led to the creation of the National Commission for the Protection of Human Subjects of Biomedical and Behavioral Research, which developed guidelines for ethical research practices. The Tuskegee syphilis study remains a stark reminder of the importance of informed consent and the need for ethical standards in medical research. In 1997, President Bill Clinton issued a formal apology to the survivors of the study and their families. He acknowledged the government's role in the unethical treatment of the participants and expressed regret for the suffering they endured. The apology was a significant step towards healing, but it could never fully undo the harm that was done. The legacy of the Tuskegee syphilis study serves as a powerful reminder of the need for vigilance in protecting the rights and dignity of all individuals in medical research. Today, the lessons learned from the Tuskegee syphilis study continue to shape the field of medical research. Ethical standards and regulations have been strengthened to ensure that such a tragedy never happens again. Researchers are now required to obtain informed consent from participants, provide them with all necessary information about the study, and ensure their safety and well-being throughout the research process. The story of the Tuskegee syphilis study is a sobering reminder of the importance of ethical conduct in science and medicine. As we reflect on this dark chapter in history, it's crucial to remember the individuals who suffered and died as a result of the Tuskegee syphilis study. Their experiences serve as a testament to the need for accountability and transparency in medical research. We must honor their memory by continuing to advocate for ethical practices and by ensuring that the rights and dignity of all research participants are upheld. The shocking discovery of the Tuskegee syphilis study is a call to action for all of us to remain vigilant and committed to justice in the pursuit of scientific knowledge. Okay, so picture this. It's 1972 and we're in the middle of this crazy election campaign. Nixon's running for re-election and everything seems pretty normal, like politicians making promises they can't keep, the whole shebang, but then, bam! 5 dudes get caught breaking into the Democratic National Committee headquarters at the Watergate Hotel. At first, it seemed like a totally random amateur burglary. Like, what were they even thinking? The media was calling it a third-rate burglary, and everyone was like, what a bunch of losers. But something about it just felt off. It was like this weird, nagging feeling in the back of my mind, like, why would anyone care about stealing files from the Democratic Party headquarters? It didn't make any sense. 2 reporters from the Washington Post, these guys named Woodward and Bernstein, started digging deeper into the story. They were like the OG internet sleuths, but with like actual typewriters and stuff. They started uncovering these crazy connections between the burglars and, wait for it, President Nixon's re-election campaign. So, these 5 guys weren't just random burglars. They were connected to people high up in the government. The more Woodward and Bernstein dug, the more they found out about this massive cover-up. There were secret recordings, hush money, and all sorts of shady dealings. It was like a real-life spy movie, but with politicians instead of secret agents. And the deeper they went, the more it seemed like Nixon himself was involved. The whole thing started to unravel, and it became clear that this wasn't just a third-rate burglary. It was a full-blown political scandal that would change the course of American history. Eventually, Nixon had no choice but to resign, becoming the first U.S. president to do so. Vice President Gerald Ford took over, and the nation was left to pick up the pieces. The Watergate scandal showed just how far some people would go to hold on to power. It also showed the power of the press and the importance of holding leaders accountable. Woodward and Bernstein became heroes for their relentless pursuit of the truth. Their work inspired a generation of journalists and changed the way we look at politics. So what started as a so-called third-rate burglary ended up being one of the biggest political scandals in history. And it all began with 5 guys breaking into an office, thinking they could get away with it. But thanks to some determined journalists and a lot of digging, the truth came out, and the rest, as they say, is history. So next time you hear about Watergate, remember it wasn't just a burglary. It was a turning point in American politics. And it all started with a couple of reporters who refused to give up. Their legacy lives on, reminding us of the power of the press and the importance of seeking the truth, because sometimes the smallest actions can lead to the biggest changes. And that's the story of how a third-rate burglary became a defining moment in history. Okay, so buckle up, because this one is a wild ride. We're talking secret arms deals, hostages, Central America, and enough political drama to make your head spin. It's the 1980s and Ronald Reagan is president. Remember him, the whole tear down this wall guy? Anyway, America is in this super tense standoff with Iran. They're holding American hostages and everyone's freaking out. It's like international crisis mode. Meanwhile, down in Nicaragua, there's this whole other conflict going on. A rebel group called the Contras is fighting against the socialist Sandinista government. And the Reagan administration really wants to support the Contras, but there's just one tiny problem. Congress passed a law that specifically forbids the U.S. from funding them. Oops! So what do? They come up with this super secret, totally not sketchy plan. They decide to sell weapons to Iran. Yeah, you heard that right, the same Iran that's holding American hostages. And then use the money from those arms sales to secretly fund the Contras.
Oh my God, you guys, we made it. Can you believe all the crazy stuff we just talked about? It's like my brain is officially fried. From mind control experiments to secret arms deals, the world is a wild and mysterious place. It makes you wonder what other secrets are still out there just waiting to be uncovered. But for now, I'm going to go take a nap and try to process all of this. Don't forget to comment and subscribe for more conspiracy theory goodness. And let me know in the comments which theory freaked you out the most. Until next time, stay spooky.